जामुना तीरा बोलो चारी। जामुना तीरा बोलो चारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जाना जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara
Hare Krishna. So we would like to welcome all the participants for this auspicious association. And today is the first day and we are celebrating online Gaur Purnima festival. We are celebrating for 5 days. We have organized various types of events for the celebration. So for 5 days, we will have Shravan Utsav. We will be hearing from different Srila Prabhupada disciples and sannyasis. You can share the schedule. Like on different days, we will be hearing from different Srila Prabhupada disciples. And today, our Shravan Utsav is starting, hearing from His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj. And further, we will hear from various sannyasis, Srila Prabhupada disciples. We are sharing this schedule. And there are many other events also you can participate. We will share the link to participate in all the activities in the chat box only, so you can click and register yourself for the event. So today we are starting our event with hearing from His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj. He will be speaking on the topic Glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At the end, there will be a quiz for all of you. So kindly hear very attentively and please participate in the quiz. Hare Krishna.
Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschata Dishatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So, happy Gaur Purnima to everyone. I heartily welcome all the devotees who came from other places, and I also thank all the devotees, local devotees, for making such a nice arrangement for everyone. Is everyone nicely situated? Okay, so I hope your accommodation is comfortable. I was told that there is some shortage of rooms, so we are making some last-minute arrangements. We'll make it a point that everyone is comfortably situated. And today is a big day, very special day. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's divine appearance. Yesterday, in 2 classes, we described about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity. Why we are worshipping him? Because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does that Supreme Personality Godhead means? Yesterday, in the evening, we briefly discussed about that through one verse, that is identifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it has been described the identity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, Param Tattya, the supreme absolute truth, is identified in 3 ways: Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahma is the light, the spiritual light, which is identified as Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti. Jyoti means light. The spiritual world is full of light. In this world, it's full of darkness. Fortunately, the sun comes up, there is some light. Has the sun not been there, there wouldn't have been any light here. And the moon is giving some light. That is also sun's light is being reflected. And then there is fire. The fire is also sun's energy, retained in the wood by the trees, and then gives out. So sun is actually the source of all light in the material nature. Otherwise, can you imagine if the sun was not there? What would have happened? It would have been total darkness. But the spiritual world is diametrically opposed to the material nature. Diametrically opposite. So material nature is always in darkness, the spiritual world is always in light. So what is the light in the spiritual world? That is Brahma Jyoti. That's not this light. That is spiritual light. Brahma Jyoti. And then this Brahma Jyoti is actually the bodily effulgence of Krishna. From Krishna comes out the light from his body. And that is Brahma Jyoti. Then Paramatma. In everyone's heart, the Lord is present. That aspect of the Lord in everyone's heart is known as Paramatma. And then Bhagavan, the Lord himself is known as Bhagavan. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So we get these three things: Brahma, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Upanishad actually speaks about Brahma Jyoti. All the Upanishads, they are just speaking about Brahma Jyoti. So, it is being described, Jad Advaitam Brahma Upanishadi. Whatever is described in Upanishad as non-dual Brahma Jyoti, Tadapasya Tanubha, that's his bodily effulgence. Whose? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. This is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity is being established. Jadadvaitam Brahma Upanishadi Tadapasya Tanubha. Tanubha means, Tanu means body, Bha means light, effulgence. Ja Atmantarjami Purusha, one who is residing in everyone's heart, the Purusha. Tad apyasya, tad asabhibhava. That is his expansion. Sharaisharja Purna Jaya Bhagavan Swayamaya. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, who is endowed or filled with 6 opulences. Sharaisharja Purna Jaya Bhagavan Swayamayam. He is that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Na Chaitanyat Krishnat Jagati Paratattam Param Iha. Beyond this, Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is no superior truth. So, we are getting the identity. Actually, Krishna is described in that way. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdati. Now here it is being established. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his bodily effulgence is Brahma Jyoti, his expansion is Paramatma, and he himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is none other than Krishna himself. He is Krishna himself. And there is no truth beyond him. If we speak about the spiritual realities known as the absolute truth, the ultimate truth. And that ultimate truth is Krishna. And that ultimate truth is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna himself. So this is how we are getting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's identity. We are actually getting even further understanding. That understanding is, he is none other than Krishna with Radharani. That is another verse. Maybe we will discuss about that later on. Now let's go to today's verse. By the way, you all sang very nicely this verse. I also sang it for the first time. And you all also sang it very nicely. Thank you very much. So, that is the Anarpita. Let's try to understand this verse. Anarpita means not bestowed. Arpan means to give. And anarpan means no arpan. Right? Not given. Anarpita. That has not been bestowed or given. Charim, having been formerly. Charim, before. Not bestowed before. Chirat, for a long time. Chirat. Chirat means long time. How long? How long? 1,000 Chaturjugas. You know what a Chaturjuga is? Satyajug, Tretayug, Dwapar-yug, Kali-yug. The duration of Kali-yug is 432,000 years. 432,000 years. Long time. Then Dwapar-yug, 864,000 years. Treta-yug, 1,296,000 years. And Satyajug, 1,728,000 years. So that is one Chaturjug. Together, you all are mathematical geniuses. So I am sure you all have calculated it. Together it comes to 4.32 million years. 4.32 million years. And then, that is one Chaturjuga. And 1,000 Chaturjuga. That means, multiply that by 1,000. 1,000 multiplied by 4.32 million years is 4.32 billion years. So, asked, what is 1 million, say 4.32 million years? His answer was a hell of a lot. So, actually we can't imagine. Also, there was another person, was the economist. He was giving that. He was telling that most of the people do not understand, cannot conceive what is the difference between a million and a billion. Isn't it? 4.32 million years and 4.32 billion years. We can't really figure it out. It's beyond our mental perception. So he gave, when? 4.32 billion years ago. Krishna gave this, Anarpita. So that's something that he did not give for a long, long time. Long time he didn't give. What is that he didn't give? Samarpaitum. Arpita, Anarpita, right? And Samarpita. Anarpita means not given. Samarpita means very nicely given. So Samarpaitum Untitled Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam. Shriyam means, let us go to the text here, how Prabhupada translated Shriyam. The treasure, Shriyam, the treasure, the wealth. Shri, Shri is another name of Lakshmi Devi. So what does Lakshmi Devi give? She gives wealth. It is a kind of a wealth, Shriyam. What kind of Shriyam? Unnata Ujjala Rasam. Shriyam, what Shriyam? Swabhakti, his own devotion. What kind of devotion? In a very exalted, Unnata means very elevated, very exalted, and Ujjvala means brilliant. The wealth of his own devotion. The wealth of his own devotion in its most exalted and most brilliant aspect. The highest form of devotion in the most brilliant way. In order to bestow that, Karunaya avatirna khalu. Karunaya, very mercifully. Avatirna means descended. Kalu means in the age of Kali Yuga. Karunaya avatirna kalu samarpaitum unnata jalarasam swabhakti shriyam. How did he give it? Hari Purata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipita. Hari, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Lord, Purata Sundara Duti. Purata means more brilliant than gold. His complexion, which is even more brilliant than gold. The splendor, Kadamba, with a multitude, Sandipitaha, illuminated, Sada, illuminated. Sada Hridaya Kandare, Sfuratu Var Sachinanda. So that Sachinandan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the son of Mother Sachi, become manifest in your heart all the time. Hridaya Kandare means, Kandar means cavity. And Hridaya means heart, the cavity of your heart. Heart, in your heart, let him be. Always remain manifested. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. What is the Unnata Ujjala? Is the mellow of conjugal love. Unnata is conjugal love. There are 5 mellows. What is the topmost? Conjugal, Madhura. And Ujjal means, Madhur Ras has 2 aspects, Swakiya and Parokiya. Swakiya means when the relationship is recognized. When Parokiya means when the relationship is not recognized. Swakiya, husband-wife relationship. The relationship between unmarried man and a woman. So in the spiritual context, that's the highest form of relationship. So That is what Krishna came to give, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to distribute. What is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu giving us? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us Krishna Prem. Yesterday we also sang that one. This morning, Namo Mahavadannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. Krishna Prema Pradayate. He is giving Krishna Prem. What is that Krishna Prem? The loving relationship between. Prem means love. And what kind of love? Krishna's love with the gopis of Vrindavan. In order to distribute that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is a very short purport. Prabhupada is saying, this is a quotation from the Vidagdha Madhav, a drama compiled and edited by Srila Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami wrote a drama called Vidagdha Madhav. Vidagdha Madhav. Madhava who has been afflicted with love. So, Vidagdha Madhav, Rupa Goswami wrote these two very wonderful dramas. One is Vidagdha Madhav, the other is Lalita Madhav. Krishna's loving affair in Vrindavan is Vidagdha Madhav. Then it has been described that all the gopis actually came to Dwarka to become the queens. The queens of Dwarka are none other than the gopis of Vrindavan. Actually, when Krishna expanded as Vasudev in Dwarka, Dwarkadhish Krishna is Vasudev. Then the gopis also became his queens. In Vrindavan, Krishna's relationship with the gopis are like unmarried boy and girls. The gopis are not married to Krishna, but in Dwarka, they all got married to Krishna. Krishna expanded as Vasudev, the gopis expanded as the queens in Vrindavan. 16,000 gopis in Vrindavan became 16,000 queens in Dwarka. So this is how wonderful the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. So now we understand why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. Well, I haven't really properly explained it as yet. So this verse, Anarpita Charing Chirat, Korunaya Vatirna Kalu, Samarpaitu Munnata Jalarasam Shabhakti Sriyam. Hari Purata Sundaradduti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaya Kandares Furatu Vasachinandana. So everyone understood the meaning of this verse? Yes? Okay, somebody said on behalf of everyone. So, okay. Now, it is further being explained why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to distribute Krishna Prem. Why did Krishna come to distribute Krishna Prem as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Okay, I'll read both Bengali and the English. Purna Bhagavan Krishna Vrajendra Kumar Goloke Brojer Shaho Nitya Vihar. So everyone understood? I'm seeing many heads are shaking. Thank you very much that all of you understand Bengali. Okay. Lord Krishna, the son of King of Vraja, the Supreme Lord, he eternally enjoys transcendental pastimes in his eternal abode Golok, which includes Brajadham. Krishna, simple words. Who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He is the son of Nanda Maharaj, Brajendra Kumar. And Goloke, Goloke Brajeshaho Nitya Bihar. In Golok, where Braja is included, he eternally performs his pastimes. Okay, very good. So, purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the previous chapter, it has been established that Krishna, the son of Rajendra, the king of Vraja, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead with 6 opulences. He eternally enjoys transcendently variegated opulences on his planet, which is known as Golok. The eternal pastimes of the Lord in the spiritual planet of Krishna Loka are called aprakrita or unmanifested pastimes because they are beyond the purview of the conditioned souls. Lord Krishna is always present everywhere, but when he is not present before our eyes, he is said to be aprakrita. He is said to be aprakot or unmanifested. When Krishna is in front of our eyes, with our eyes we can see Krishna, that is called prakot, manifest. When Krishna is not manifest in front of our eyes, then it's called aprakot. Okay. ব্রহ্মার একদিনে তিহ একবার অবতীর্ণ হইয়া করেন প্রকট বিহার. Once in a day of Brahma, he descends to this world to manifest his transcendental pastimes. I already spoke about that. Everyone understood? Everyone remember? What is the length of Brahma's one day? 1,000. That is presaid here. In numbers? Brilliant. 4.32 billion years. So, Brahmar Agdine, once in a day of Brahma, he comes here. Brahmar Agdine Tiho Akbar Avatirna Hoya Karin Prakota Bihar. সত্য ত্রেতা দাপর কলি চারি যুগ জানি সেই চারি যুগে দিব্য এক যুগ মানি. We know that there are 4 ages, yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali. These 4 together constitute one Dibba Yuga. একাত্তর চতুর্যুগে এক মন্বন্তর 14 মন্বন্তর ব্রহ্মার দিবস ভিতর. 71 Dibba Yugas constitute one Manvantar. There are 14 Manvantars in one day of Brahma. You got it? How many Manus are there in a day of Brahma? 14. Okay, 1,000 divided by 14? 71. So what is the reign of one Manu? 71 Chaturjuga. That's called the one Manvantar. So 71 Chaturjuga. Vaivashyata name Shaptam Manvantar 27 Chaturjug Tahar Antar. The present Manu, who is the 7th, is called Vaivashyata, the son of Vivashwan. So whose Manu, which Manu is reigning now? Vaivashyata Manu. Who is Vaivashyata Manu? Son of Vivashwan. Who is Vivashwan? Sun God. You remember in Bhagavad Gita, Imam Vivashyate Yogam Praktavanaham Ampayam. Vivashwan Manave Praho. Vivashwan gave it to Manu, his son, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So this is his reign now, Vaivashyata Manvantar. And 27 Divya Yugas of his age have now passed. So 27 Chatur Yugas out of how many?
71.
Very good. Out of 71, 27 has passed. And then, now which one is going on? 28th. And in the 28th Chatur Yuga of Vaibhashrata Manu, in Dwapar Yuga, towards the end of Dwapar Yuga, Krishna comes. অষ্টবিংশ চতুর্যুগে দাপরের শেষে ব্রজের সহিতে হয় কৃষ্ণের প্রকাশে. At the end of the Dwapar Yuga, of the 28th Diva Yuga, Lord Krishna appears on earth with the full paraphernalia of his eternal Brajadham. So Krishna comes only once when? Dwapar Yuga of the 28th Manvantar of Vaibhashrata Manu. দাস্য সখ্য বাৎসল্য শৃঙ্গার চারি রস চারি ভাবের ভক্ত যত কৃষ্ণ তার বশ. Understood? Simple Bengali, right? Should I read the English?
Yes.
Okay. Servitude, dasya, friendship, sakhya, parental affection, vatsalya, and conjugal love, shringar, are the four transcendental mellows, rasas. By the devotees who cherish these four mellows, Lord Krishna is subdued. When one serves Krishna, out of one of these four mellows, Krishna becomes subdued. Krishna becomes bash. Bash means Krishna becomes sold out. Krishna becomes controlled. Bash means to be controlled. So Krishna becomes subdued or controlled by the devotees who serve Krishna out of these four mellows. দাস সখা পিতামাতা কান্তাগণ লইয়া ব্রজে ক্রীড়া করে কৃষ্ণ প্রেমাবিষ্ট হইয়া. Absorbed in such transcendental love, Lord Sri Krishna enjoys in Braja with his devoted servants, friends, parents, and conjugal lovers. Right? Lord, okay. যথেষ্ট বিহরি কৃষ্ণ করে অন্তর্ধান করি মনে করে অনুমান. Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks thus. Krishna, after withdrawing his pastimes, when he completed, he abundantly enjoyed his pastimes in Vrindavan. When did he do that? Can you imagine? Just last Dwapar Yuga. Only about 5,000 years ago. Can you imagine? 4.32 billion years. Out of that, what is 5,000 years? He came so close. We came so close to him. So Krishna then considered, Lord Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes as long as he wishes, and then he disappears. After disappearing, however, he thinks in this way. He thinks thus. Chirokal nahi kori prema bhakti dan, bhakti bina jagoter nahi avasthan. For a long time, I have not bestowed unalloyed loving service to me upon the inhabitants of the world. Without such loving attachment, the existence of the material world is useless. So Krishna considered that I manifested my pastimes, but I didn't give it to everybody. And if somebody doesn't get this love, then what's the use of being alive? Right? What's the use of this world if people cannot get Krishna Prem? সকল জগতে মোরে করে বিধি ভক্তি, বিধি ভক্তে ব্রজভাব পাইতে নাহি শক্তি. You understood that? Someone's very, very strongly shaking their heads. They understood everything. Very nice. So, সকল জগতে মোরে করে বিধি ভক্তি. The whole world worships me following Vaidhi Bhakti. But Vidhi Bhakti Braja Prem Paite Nahi Shakti. By following this Vaidhi Bhakti, one doesn't get Braja Prem. Everyone in the world, everywhere in the world, people worship me according to scriptural injunctions. But simply by following such regulative principles, one cannot attain the loving sentiments of the devotee in Brajabhumi. ঐশ্বর্য জ্ঞানেতে সব জগৎ মিশ্রিত, ঐশ্বর্য শিথিল প্রেমে নাহি মোর প্রীত. Knowledge of my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and reverence. Knowing my opulence, the whole world looks upon me with awe and veneration. But devotion made feeble by such reverence does not attract me. Meaning, everyone knows Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when one knows that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically one develops awe and veneration. So that means one cannot, like everyone, oh my Lord. So everyone looks up to him with awe and reverence. And Krishna is saying that kind of love doesn't make me happy. So Krishna is saying, does not attract me. Now what does it mean, Aishwarya Gyan? When you know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then can you treat him like a friend? No. Can you treat him like your son? Although most of the mothers think that their children are either Krishna or Radha. But to develop a real parental relationship with Krishna is not possible. When you know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when you know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can one treat him like a lover? So then he is explaining that when one worships Krishna through this mood of awe and reverence, then he goes to Vaikuntha. In Vaikuntha, Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what is the attitude? Dasya. Prabhu ji, main hu das tuhara. So that is the natural mood. But real friendship is what? Real friendship is like, Krishna, come, let's fight. Today I learned some new technique in wrestling. So today I'm going to defeat you. And then he defeats Krishna. And the condition is that whoever wins, whoever loses, has to carry the winner on his back. So he says, Krishna, I won, so you carry me on your back. Krishna says, no, I won't. Why not? You didn't defeat me. I just slipped on that banana peel and you jumped on me and you said, you won, you won. Said, come on, Krishna, after such a lot of struggle, I defeated you, and now you're saying banana peel, you slipped. Where is the banana peel? And ask everybody whether I really defeated you. So then the boy, the friend, he forces his way onto Krishna's back. Meaning, he had to put his foot on Krishna's body to climb onto Krishna's back. Who will ever go to the altar? Will any devotee ever dare to do that? No, but in Vrindavan they do that. Why? Because they don't have the awareness that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their feeling is Krishna is my friend. Parents are thinking Krishna is my child. Therefore my mother Jashoda with a stick in her hand chasing Krishna. With a rope trying to bind Krishna. Will anybody ever dare to do that? If he knows, or if he or she knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, in Vrindavan, that feeling is not there, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the girls, the cowherd girls, they're treating Krishna like their lover. They have a rendezvous, they have to meet in the middle of the night in some secluded place. They're waiting. Krishna didn't come. So when Krishna finally comes, they chastise Krishna. Get out of here. We don't want to see your face. Never come near us. Who will ever dare to treat Krishna like that? But in Vrindavan they do that. That is called pure love. That is now Oishadja, Madhurja, sweetness. Oishadja means opulence and Madhurja means sweetness. So they have this sweetness of their love. Due to their love, they treat Krishna like that. Now, Krishna considered, I rendered my Braja Leela, but how will anyone ever get to know about the greatness of Braja Leela, and how will they ever come to develop that relationship? Therefore, Krishna came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Is it clear why Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Krishna came to teach us who that Vrindavan Krishna is. Krishna himself came to teach his actual identity in Braja, so that we can develop that relationship with him. Anyway, so class is going on till
8:25.
8:25.
That's in Guru. Till they open the altar.
Till they open that altar. Okay, so we'll carry on till the conch shell blows. So this is the great. Okay, so let me carry on reading this. ঐশ্বর্য জ্ঞানে বিধি ভজন করিয়া বৈকুণ্ঠেতে যায় চতুর্বিধ মুক্তি পাইয়া. By performing such regulated devotional service in awe and veneration, one may go to Vaikuntha and attain the 4 kinds of liberation. When one goes to Vaikuntha, he gets 4 kinds of liberation. What kind of liberations are they? That's being explained here. Shashti, Sarupya and Samipya. Shashti, Sarupya আর সামীপ্য শালক্য সাজুজ্জনালয় ভক্ত যাতে ব্রহ্ম ঐক্য. These liberations are Shashti, achieving opulence equal to those of the Lord, getting the same opulence. You get to Vaikuntha, you get the same opulence as Krishna. One kind of liberation. Sarupya, having a form same as the Lord. You look just like Narayan. Samipya, living as a personal associate of the Lord. And Shalakya, living on a Vaikuntha planet. Devotees never accept Sajujya, however, since that is oneness with Brahman. There is another kind of liberation called Sajuja Mukti. In that liberation, one merges into Brahma Jyoti. And he thinks, Aham Brahmasmi. And Brahman is the source of everything. They think, I am the source of everything. I am Brahman, I am the source of everything. So the problem with Brahma Jyoti is there is no exchange of love. If you just become one, how can you love? If you think that you have become the ultimate one, that is Brahma Jyoti, there is no form, there is no quality, there is no attribute. Therefore, a devotee does not accept Sajuja Mukti. They may accept Sarupya, Samipya, Salokya and Shashti. But they get liberated, and there the mood is awe and reverence. Awe and reverence doesn't allow them to come very close to each other. Like say for example, like if there is someone who is very, very famous, very powerful, very opulent, when you go to him, can you treat him like your friend? Although you would like to have him as your friend. Say some very big person. Can you go to him like, say, Narendra Modi? To even get his darshan is so difficult. And when you go to him, what will be your attitude like? Like this. But if Narendra Modi has a friend who they have been friends with from childhood, when he goes to Narendra Modi, probably he will say, "Hey Naren, how are you doing?" He'll put his hand around his shoulder and say, "Chal thoda paidal chalte hain." So that is the intimacy created by friendship. Friendship creates that intimacy. Similarly, mother and father. If Narendra Modi's mother goes to meet him, will the mother treat him like, oh, Minister Saab, Pradhan Mantri ji, she'll beta kaise ho? खाना ठीक से खाते हो ना? मैं सुना तुम बहुत तकलीफ उठा रही हो हमारे देश के लिए. The mother will treat him like that. And Narendra Modi is unmarried, brahmachari. So no conjugal relationship. So this is how we have to see how we recognize. Ready? Okay. When we recognize the greatness of a great person, we cannot get close to him. But when that person comes to us, allows us to become close to him, then it's a different thing altogether. So Vrindavan is the place where Krishna is allowing him to come close to him. And in order to take us to that intimate relationship, Krishna came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now you can see how merciful Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Krishna himself came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take us to Vrindavan and allow us to develop such relationship. Okay, so you understood who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Gaur Premanande Hare. Now let's go and have darshan of Lord Nrsingadev.
Hare Krishna. So thank you very much everyone for hearing very attentively. So now we will be having quiz of last session. So we can show the results. Total 76 devotees participated. 10 questions were there. Who are the toppers? You can show the toppers. Last time result, Haribol. Okay, the third is Shivam Singh, Amit Prabhu, and at top was Akhilesh Nagar, Haribol. So these were the result for last, and runner-ups were KSR and Jayesh Prabhu. So we are sharing the link for today's quiz. Devotees can see in chat box. The quiz link is there and you can start your quiz. Meanwhile, I will announce few things. Please don't leave. There are further sessions. At 9 a.m. we are going to hear from His Grace Guru Gauranga Prabhu. He is Srila Prabhupada disciple and a very dear and close friend of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj. He will be enlightening us on Gaur Purnima. So please be with us. And we have already shared quiz link in the chat box. You can see. I'm sharing it again. You can start filling your quiz. There are many activities which are being organized for online participation. Like for this online event, we are having poem competition, shloka recitation competition. We will share some list of shlokas based on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and you will have to recite it. There will be quiz based on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Drawing, you will have to draw something related to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, pastime or something. Bhajan singing, the bhajan related to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, storytelling, some pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You'll have to write some poem glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And 28th is Holi also, so you can use the colors for Rangoli and you can share that. And we have shared the link for registration in the chat box. Only you can register, and it's mainly for the children below 20, so all of you can participate. And for Shravan Utsav, we are going to hear from various Srila Prabhupada disciples and sannyasis. 25th March we heard from Guru Maharaj, and then His Grace Guru Gauranga Prabhu 9 to 10, and in the evening we will hear from His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj from 6 to 7 p.m. And for tomorrow also we are having very great exalted devotees. Devkinandan Prabhu, His Holiness Romapad Swami Maharaj, His Grace Basu Ghosh Prabhu. And we will be hearing from Loknath Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Prem Swami Maharaj. And 28th, His Holiness Jai Pataka Swami Maharaj, and 29th, His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami Maharaj. So we will be hearing all of them. So the Zoom ID will be same, so you can join.
हरे कृष्णा। इस 27 और 28 मार्च को ISKCON उज्जैन मनाने जा रहा है ऑनलाइन गौर पूर्णिमा महामहोत्सव, जिसमें आयोजित होने वाली है कई सारी आकर्षक प्रतियोगिताएं जैसे क्विज, ड्राइंग, पोएम राइटिंग, स्टोरी टेलिंग, सिंगिंग, भजन, रंगोली, श्लोका रेसिटेशन। इन सभी प्रतियोगिताओं की थीम चैतन्य महाप्रभु व उनकी लीलाओं पर आधारित होगी। रजिस्ट्रेशन ओपन एवं निःशुल्क है। आप अपनी रिकॉर्डिंग, ड्राइंग और पोएम 27 मार्च रात्रि 9 बजे से पहले हमें भेज सकते हैं। आकर्षक क्विज कंपटीशन 28 तारीख की सुबह आयोजित किया जाएगा। सभी कार्यक्रमों के रिजल्ट 28 तारीख की शाम को एक रंगारंग ऑनलाइन कार्यक्रम में बताए जाएंगे। रजिस्ट्रेशन व अन्य जानकारी के लिए कॉल या व्हाट्सएप करें। नंबर है 8433472418 पर। तो आइए इस होली जाने श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु के बारे में गौर पूर्णिमा महोत्सव बनाकर और झूमे गौरांग नित्यानंद की धुन पर। हरे कृष्णा।
Gauranga Nityananda
Gauranga Nityananda
Nityananda Gauranga
Nityananda Gauranga.
Devotees can show quiz how the devotees are performing. Please show the quiz. Devotees can find the link for registering for all these online events in the chat box. The purpose of these online events is to glorify Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spread about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as much as possible. So you can share these links to your connected people and they can participate in all these activities. Yeah, so you can see the performance by different devotees. Devotees can be connected with the same link. His Grace Guru Gauranga Prabhu will be joining. Okay, so till now 90% completed. Sundar Damodar Prabhu leading. Then RB, you can write your full name so that we're able to identify you. And at third, Indu Vadni Radha Mata and Janvi Mataji. Krishna Kirtan Prabhu at fifth. All the devotees are requested to complete their quiz. We will announce the quiz results. Okay, now RB is leading. Please write your full name. Who is RB? Or you can tell in chat box so that we can announce your name. RB is Rahul Banerjee, I think. Okay, Rahul Banerjee is leading. Then Sundar Damodar Prabhu, third Indu Vadni Radha, and then Janvi Mata. So you can complete this quiz up to 12 p.m. today. We'll announce the result after that.
Hare Krishna, happy Gaur Purnima. This day is very special for all of us, the Gauriya Vaishnavas, especially the followers of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, because on this day, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in His most munificent feature as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He predicted that the Krishna consciousness movement would spread all over the world in every town and village. And in order to fulfill that prediction, He sent His most dear devotee, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada not only spread Krishna consciousness movement all over the world, but he also made a very, very wonderful arrangement by establishing the institution of ISKCON to continue his mission even after his disappearance. And we are seeing with the passing of time how this movement is expanding all over the world, spreading the glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and making people chant the holy name of the Lord in order to experience Krishna Prem, the love of Godhead that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to distribute. Srila Prabhupada made this wonderful arrangement, and we, the followers of ISKCON, have a solemn responsibility to continue his mission all over the world. Therefore, let us try to work with a spirit of love and trust, with a spirit of cooperation to spread the movement, and with Srila Prabhupada in the center, let us all become brothers and sisters in order to achieve the glorious mission that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to establish. Today, let us resolve on this New Year's Day of ours that we are going to commit ourselves completely to fulfill this mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wholeheartedly. I wish you all a glorious Gaur Purnima festival and all the joy and spiritual fulfillment. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we are very happy to welcome our next speaker, His Grace Guru Gauranga Prabhu. I would like to give a brief introduction about Prabhuji. So Prabhu, at the age of 20, graduated from Yale University, and that time he came in contact with the devotees and introduced to Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita. And that time only he decided to leave job and join ISKCON. He was initiated by Srila Prabhupada the same year. And in 1978, Prabhupada held Rath Yatra after getting government approval in Europe and other parts of Europe. And in 1980, he led Sankirtan bus in Switzerland and had a wonderful contribution in ISKCON. And Prabhu is a very dear and close friend of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj also. So we would like to welcome Prabhu for this auspicious association. We are having a Shravan festival by different Srila Prabhupada disciples and sannyasis. So we would like to welcome Prabhu by loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Premavatar Prabhu, and to all the devotees of the ISKCON Ujjain temple. I offer my obeisances to you. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Well, I can not imagine how bittersweet it must be for all of you, not just disciples of Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, not just Diksha disciples, but he has many, many Shiksha disciples, and I'm very fortunate to be one of them too. So I'm being transported back to that nuclear day when I was informed it's funny, on a regular day, I try to focus on my seva and chant my japa. But then, of course, from time to time, like now, the feelings are still raw. They're still very intense. When I got the news of Maharaj passing, I was an incoherent wreck for 3 days. I spent the majority of those 3 days crying. And I realized that there was no passing of any devotee in our movement that so deeply affected me. I had another proof that Bhakti True Swami was a true son of Prabhupada, because it made me think of the day Prabhupada left. And it made me lament that he'd invited me to come to Ujjain several times, just never made it. I hadn't been going to India for a number of years. I always said that if I go to India, I will definitely go to Ujjain. In 2019, towards the end of the year, I was busy organizing what was ISKCON's first law conference. That was to invite all devotees who were lawyers to come to Gainesville, Florida, where I live. And I rented a large hall, and we organized to have a devotional lawyers conference. And I remember Bhakti True Swami said to me, why don't you do it in Ujjain? I said, well, it's easier to do it here for the first time. So then he said to me, then promise me that you will do the second international conference in Ujjain. And, I thought he was just being gracious. And of course he was. But I said just being gracious. But he wasn't just being gracious. And later on, I traveled after that law conference in America to Mayapur for the first time in many, many years. And I was reunited with Maharaj again. Whenever he would come to the land, I would go visit him. It's about less than a 2-hour drive from my home. And he was always very relaxed and very hospitable. I first met Maharaj in the 70s, in the mid 70s. He came to Switzerland, where I was the temple president. And there's some devotees, they just immediately convey a breath of fresh air. And the first time I met him, I knew he was special. And I knew he thought outside the box, as we say sometimes in English. But he never thought outside of Prabhupada's wishes, Prabhupada's desires. Anyway, so he told me, do you remember that we made an understanding that the second law conference would be in Ujjain? I said, yes, I'm grateful that you've helping the law department, which gives advice to ISKCON leaders so that they don't find out after they violate a law when it's too late or very difficult to fix it, kind of like preventative care, like you go visit the doctor so that you avoid trouble. He understood all of that intuitively. And I'll get to that in a minute again. So then he said, so it's agreed. I said, yes, it's agreed. And then I said to him, what will be the arrangements? I mean, there's, prasadam and other things. I may have spoken to one of your co-presidents. I can't remember. if that was you, Premavatar, briefly once about that, did I? I can't remember. Anyway, he said to me, my dear friend, for you, there is no charge for anything. I said, what? But there will be the cost of prasadam and pickups at the airport and transport and whatever. He said, there is no charge. We have been such good, close brothers for so long, and what you're doing is so innovative and beneficial. And then he reminded me of the time that we served together when he was chairman, first vice chairman, and then chairman of the GBC. And I was the attorney for the executive committee to stop the sale of the New York temple. And Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj was so deeply involved, deeply committed to that cause, because he understood what of all places, New York, selling temples in New York, you really have to be crazy to do that. You know, New York, the birthplace of the Hare Krishna movement, the first place Prabhupada arrived, where Prabhupada prayed, make me dance, O Lord, make me dance. I do not know why you have brought me to this terrible place filled with passion and ignorance, but surely you must have a purpose. Otherwise, you would not have brought me here. Prabhupada prayed, only you, Krishna, can make my words suitable for their understanding. I always remember that. Make my words suitable for their understanding. Every time you have to speak to devotees or non-devotees about Krishna, you can all remember the mood of Prabhupada, make my words suitable for their understanding. Speaking is a very intimate thing. You have to try to understand your audience, what they can assimilate, what you can say, how you say it. Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj was a master at that. So I think many of you have seen the video that was made of the Brooklyn Library town hall meeting. I organized that. And I got a lot of intimate association with Bhakti Charu Swami on that. We had 3 members of the executive committee. He was the chairman at that point, and Shesha was the vice chairman, and then there was Pragosh Prabhu. And we did a lot of preparation for that. And I remember he said to me, what shall I say? I say, Krishna will give you the inspiration to speak suitably for everyone. He said, should I prepare? I said, yes, preparation is always good. There's a saying that good fortune favors the prepared mind. Prabhupada always prepared. Prabhupada spent a lifetime in preparation to come to America, you know? So I remember he gave me what he wrote. He said, what do you think of this? I said, well, I'm your servant, but I'm also your lawyer. Permission to speak frankly? He said, yes, permission granted. Well, I don't know about this, and maybe we could change this and move this around and this and that. So some of it he agreed, some of it he didn't agree. It was his talk. When we were done, he said, now what? I said, now try to memorize it. Or try to become so familiar with it that you make sure that all the points that you have so carefully prepared, you deliver them. And I did this with all 3 of the EC members. I even recommended just stand in front of a mirror and speak to the mirror. And you can see what everyone else will be seeing when they hear you talk. This is kind of God brotherly rasa, what I'm going to tell you next. So he said, well, how many times do I have to do that? I said, as many times as it takes to go through it flawlessly. He said, oh, Guru Gauranga Prabhu, you are such a taskmaster. I said, well, we want to master the task, don't we, Maharaj? And of course, the rest was a perfect mix of preparation and inspiration by Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj. If you remember that presentation, how many of you, if you've seen that video, raise your hand for Premavatar Das. Are there many devotees who saw that? Premavatar saw that. Krishna Kishore saw that. You were there, weren't you, Krishna Kishore? I think you were. Anyway, so at the end, he became transcendently passionate that we will not allow this temple to be sold. And I promise this to you. It's like, please, Maharaj, that's not part of the prepared script I'm thinking in my head. He got so fired up. This is the mix between the beautiful balance between preparation and inspiration. He said, and I promise you, as GBC chairman, that this will not stand. Oh my God, you know, because I'm the lawyer. I'm the guy who's going to be the instrument of success or failure. You know, so please don't promise too much. But we got his blessings. And we, by Krishna's arrangement, you know, that temple got unsold. Unsold. I mean, that's a very strange word, you know. Sell, we understand, to unsell. But Krishna somehow arranged for the intelligence to be given to this foolish servant to find something in the law to get the temple unsold. And we found it. And that was one of the most wonderful collaborations I've ever had with senior devotees, GBC members, of course, also Shesha Prabhu, a close friend. It was like a wonderful opportunity for me to associate. Not just, you know, take prasad, remember Prabhupada, which of course is perfect, but to kind of roll up our sleeves like young men and fight in the trenches together. Very nice. Our paths have always crossed. Somehow he would always find me out. There were many years I didn't go to India. I used to go every year. I went every year for 13 years consecutively. And then I didn't go for many years. But he would always find me out. He would always call me. He would always be concerned about, he was always concerned about the well-being of devotees. I had plans to go visit him in DeLand that last time. I didn't go because once he was ill, it was too late. But I was tracking his trip, you know. He came to New Jersey. He landed in Newark and he stayed with disciples, then he moved on. No one can understand the plan of the Lord. No one can understand the plan of the Lord. Anyway, I also wanted to talk about a Bhagavad Gita verse, one that has meant a lot to me over the years because it was a verse that impelled me to move into the temple and get my head shaved and leave a little ponytail on the back, which, you know, that was an act of faith. That verse is from the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 63. Iti te jnanam akyatam guyad guyataram maya vimrishaitad osheshena yateshasi tatakuru. And that verse remains as important to me today as when I was 20 years old and joined ISKCON. Now I am 70 years old. There she is, the beautiful verse. 50 years later. So obviously Krishna has been preparing Arjuna to receive understanding that will lead to a big decision. And the 18th chapter is the last chapter, it's the concluding chapter. And so in the beginning of that verse, Krishna says, "Thus I have explained to you the most confidential knowledge. Jnanam akyatam guyad guyataram," the most confidential knowledge. Krishna has prepared, Krishna has taken time to walk Arjuna from lamentation, bodily concept of life, agitated mind, dejection, all the way to complete understanding. And then came the second line of that verse, which I found just amazing. Krishna says, Vimnishaitad asheshena. Think about it. Think about everything I just said. Deliberate on this fully. Yateshasi tatakuru. And then do what you wish to do. Do what you wish to do. I was not expecting that at all. I thought it was going to be, and if you don't do it, after all the time I've invested in explaining this to you, then you are a fool, then you are lost, then you will go to hell, or whatever. Something, anything, but not do what you wish to do. Do what you wish to do. Now, this is very interesting because when we're in Maya, we generally think we're doing whatever we want. We see the rules of sadhana bhakti as an imposition, rising early, how many rounds? Chanting rounds instead of chanting the holy name. All these different rules and regulations, but I want to do what I want to do. That's like the slogan of the material world. And make your decision. But the difference is that in the material world, we don't have transcendental knowledge unless we get it from Krishna's bona fide representative. So think about it. What is it like to make a decision to do something if you have no knowledge as a predicate for what you are about to decide? You know, lawyers have a concept called informed consent. What that means is sometimes you're asked to sign a piece of paper, like we all have these devices. So you get like all this text, and then at the end you scroll down, and then you have to go, I agree. That's called consent. You're giving consent. Or you go to the hospital and they give you all this paperwork. They say, sign here, sign here, sign here. Most people never even read it. They just sign. So that's called giving consent. But there's a difference between consent and informed consent. Arjuna was giving informed consent because he had all the knowledge that Krishna gave him and that he imbibed and understood. So when he said, yes, I decide to serve you, my Lord. Even my gurus, Drona and Bhishma, are on the other side. Even though my cousin brothers are, whatever, I am now fully informed. That's the flip side of Krishna gives the knowledge, but you take the knowledge, you assimilate it. Then you are informed. Then you give your consent, informed consent. So that verse is very important. Today, we make so many decisions impulsively without thinking them through, without the knowledge that's required, be it transcendental or even of this world. But we must think very carefully before we make decisions, especially that this human form of life is meant not for material enjoyment, but for self-realization and ultimately God realization. God realization. And once one makes that informed decision, it sticks because it was informed. People who decide things whimsically, impulsively, superficially, those decisions don't stick very easily. But once you're fully informed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you've understood it, then you can make a decision that will last this lifetime for sure, and hopefully for many more lifetimes, whatever amount of lifetimes it takes for becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. Anyway, I still have yet to make it to Ujjain. And when this pandemic is over or abates, I will fulfill my promise to come to Ujjain that I gave to Guru Maharaj. God willing. So, that is my talk.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Prabhu, still time is there. If devotees have any question, they can either write in chat box or can raise their hand.
Hare Krishna, Dana Pranam Prabhu. Am I audible, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Gaura.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roji, for sharing the wonderful session and your experiences. And as mentioned by Guru Maharaj last time, you are still most invited for having that law conference in Ujjain whenever the opportunity comes. This time, because of COVID, it could not happen, but maybe next year, if you're planning, you can surely have it in Ujjain. We'll be blessed to serve you all here in Ujjain. And Prabhu, if you have time, can you please share some more instances with either Srila Prabhupada or Guru Maharaj? Devotees would love to hear.
Well, I finally, after many years of running away from a very difficult task, I decided that I would try to write a memoir of my association with Srila Prabhupada. And I have begun this. I've used Zoom, believe it or not, to reach out to devotees who were present 40 and 50 years ago. in Switzerland. My memoir is focused on Switzerland, where I was sent by Krishna to serve Prabhupada. At the age of 20, I was the temple president of Geneva Temple and had a chance to host Prabhupada for 10 days in the small temple. I think we were 14 devotees. Prabhupada was on his world tour. It was generally an annual tour. And he had just come from Rome, Italy, where there was either a very small preaching center. I don't believe there was an actual temple there. Prabhupada was going to meet with some high officials at the Vatican. And then from Geneva, he went to Paris, and from Paris to Frankfurt, to the German temple. So everybody in Europe was busy preparing for Prabhupada. So when he came to Geneva, everyone serving in these other temples who would normally want to stay and have Prabhupada's association, they couldn't, because they had to prepare for Prabhupada, whose arrival was imminent. So they were back off in their temples in Paris and Schloss Rettershof, and I think Prabhupada went to London after that. So we really had Prabhupada pretty much to ourselves. We had Prabhupada for 10 days. And when he landed in the airport, we got permission to go out and greet Prabhupada with flower garlands right on the tarmac, right on the landing strip, which, today you can't even go to the gate in most airports because of security rules. But we got permission to go right out there. And Prabhupada came on a DC-9, which is a plane most of you have never seen before, but it has an exit in the back. So I would show these pictures if I were better prepared on display, but I don't really know how to do that. I don't want to take the time. But Prabhupada came down the stairs of the airplane straight out of the back, and we had the Swiss television and radio waiting for him there, and then paid obeisances right on the landing strip. I still remember Prabhupada arrived at 10:16 a.m. on May 29th, 1974. And we had a kirtan in the airport. If I had the pictures, I would ask you if you recognized any of the devotees in the picture, because one of them I think you might or might not recognize. His name back then was Indradumna Das Adhikari. He was leading the kirtan. And Lochanananda was there too. And we went to the temple. When we got to the temple, Prabhupada gave a talk, and there was a new devotee. He was just trying to learn Prabhupada's pranam mantra by heart. We didn't even call them bhaktas back then. And when Prabhupada stood up after his talk in the temple room and got up, he came to the door of the temple room where everybody had left their shoes. And this devotee was paying his obeisances, but he was so slow because he couldn't remember the mantra easily, and he was trying to pronounce everything perfectly. And he felt like this looming presence over him. But he had to continue the mantra. And so everyone was frozen, waiting for him to finish the mantra, because he was blocking Prabhupada's exit from the temple room. Now, these were wide doors. So how was it that he was blocking Prabhupada's exit? It turned out among all the shoes that were there, he had put his head on the one pair of shoes that counted, Prabhupada's. Well, Prabhupada couldn't get his shoes until this new devotee finished the pranam mantra. What a great introduction. Later, Prabhupada called me to his room. He said, "Where is Lilavati?" I said, "Lilavati? Who is Lilavati?" He said, "She is not here in the temple." I said, "No, Srila Prabhupada, there is no Lilavati here. She came with me on the airplane. Where is she?" I said, "Srila Prabhupada, I'll immediately go find out." I ran out of the temple, out of his room, ran down the stairs, and everyone, does anyone know Lilavati? Who is Lilavati? Where is Lilavati? But finally, one devotee says to me, "Oh, she didn't make it to the temple. She went straight from the airport to the hospital." I said, "To the hospital? Why?" She has jaundice, apparently. She's in the hospital. So I'd never even seen her or heard of her. So then I went back to report to Prabhupada, and I told him that she's in the hospital. He said, "Have you gone to the hospital to see her?" "No, Srila Prabhupada." "Have you sent prasadam to the hospital?" "No, Srila Prabhupada." Prabhupada looked at me and said, "So make preparations. We will go to visit Lilavati." So I came running out of his room, like with my shika on fire, because I realized that when you're like the president, you're responsible, I ran down the stairs. I said, "Prabhupada says, get ready. We're going to see Lilavati in the hospital. Get this ready. Prepare this. Is there maha? Whatever. You're running around the car, clean the car, whatever." And I came back to Prabhupada's room. I said, "Srila Prabhupada, we're ready now." He just looked at me and said, "Very good. Now go." And he sent us off to go see Lilavati, There was another story. This one is when Prabhupada received his official welcome by the president of the Council of State of Geneva. It was the number one, not the mayor. Geneva is like a state, just like Ujjain. Is Ujjain in Uttar Pradesh? What state is Ujjain in? Uttar Pradesh?
Madhya Pradesh.
Madhya Pradesh. Excuse my poor geography. So he was not like the mayor of Geneva, mayor of Ujjain. He was like the governor of a whole state, like of Madhya, right? So he was the one who was welcoming Prabhupada at the palace of the government officially to Geneva. In the same room where they last welcomed the Pope. The Pope was received in the same room as Prabhupada. So the man starts giving a little introduction to Prabhupada about Geneva has a tradition of religious tolerance, etc., etc. Geneva is French speaking. And then at the end, Prabhupada was supposed to say, "Thank you very much for your kind words," or something like that. Instead, Prabhupada stood up and started giving a Bhagavatam class. And, these are like, there's a chief of protocol, who arranged it all. They're all like looking now. Wait a minute. What's happening now? He's not supposed to be, but they didn't dare say anything because it would be a breach of protocol, right? So this president of the Council of State and the few devotees that were there, they got a special Bhagavatam class from Prabhupada. And Prabhupada explained Varnashram Dharma and how the citizens must be properly engaged and how a good government knows how to engage them, protect them materially, and give them all facilities for spiritual life like this. So when the Prabhupada's talk was over, he said, do you have any questions? Like a class, At that point, Prabhupada had so captivated the mind of the president of the Council of State, he couldn't resist asking a question. In other words, make my words suitable for their understanding. He pulled this president of the Council of State right in. He says, yes, I actually have a question. Yeah, go ahead. So he says, what will happen to the Swiss economy if all the young people of Switzerland join your movement? That is a very interesting question if you think about it, because it posits the possibility that all the young people of Switzerland could join the Hare Krishna movement. You would think he would be saying, that would be a stupid question. There's no chance that all the young people will join this movement, right? But by asking it that way, he's opening the door, or Prabhupada opened the door for him, that, hypothetically, possibly, what would happen to the economy? So then Prabhupada gave him a little summary refresher of Varnashram Dharma. And the man said, thank you very much. And that was that. This was in May of 74. In March of 75, almost a year later, I was traveling to the Mayapur festival for Gaura Purnima with 2 other Swiss devotees. And we had purchased our tickets many months in advance. And on the appointed day, we flew to India and landed in Mumbai. We landed in Santa Cruz Airport, which is now a smaller domestic airport. It's not Indira Gandhi International Airport. That was the big airport. We landed there and we went straight to the temple. And Prabhupada was just coming out on morning walk when our taxi arrived. So we just told the taxi driver, just take all this stuff, leave it in the lobby. We're jumping out now. And we went out, turned out, and we went on a walk with Prabhupada. And later that day, we discovered that the talk of the temple was, and there were a lot of devotees on their way to the festival going through Mumbai. And what flight is Prabhupada going to be on? No one knew. Everyone was waiting to figure out what flight Prabhupada was on so they could try to book a seat on the same flight. But finally the news came, Prabhupada is on flight such and such. Everybody's like trying everything to get a seat on that flight, Indian Airlines. But there was nothing available, nothing. I looked at my ticket that I had purchased months earlier, and guess what? Anyone? Go ahead.
Was the same plane?
It was, we were on the flight with Prabhupada. So we all went to the airport with all the other devotees, big kirtan, Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada went through the gate, Satsarup went through the gate, Nitai went through the gate, Guru Gauranga Das went through the gate, the other 2 devotees from Geneva went through there. Everybody's going, hey, who are those guys? How did they get there? Are they going with Prabhupada? And we got in, small airport, small waiting room. So we're in this waiting room where obviously we're not very far from Prabhupada. I don't know, maybe 7 meters away from Prabhupada. And, this was like, what do I do? I said, I just better look Krishna conscious. I don't want Prabhupada to see me daydreaming. So I started chanting japa, and I was going up and down along the wall, chanting my japa. And every once in a while, trying to be very focused on japa, hearing properly, And every once in a while, I'd steal a look. What's Prabhupada doing? you know? And he's seated there peacefully. Satsarupa is next to him, whatever. And one of the times when I went like this to steal a look, Prabhupada's looking right at me. And he goes like this. He goes, yeah. So I come up to Prabhupada. He pats the seat next to him. The other side of him, the seat was empty. He pats the seat. The spiritual master is asking me to sit next to him on the same level. My mind is going like, same level, no good, no good. Don't sit on same level. Guru is giving instruction. Okay, Guru instruction is the most important thing. So I sat down. Prabhupada leans over and he says to me, so, is the president of Geneva still worried about what's going to happen to the young people of Switzerland if they join the Hare Krishna movement and the economy? It's like a year later almost. Prabhupada picked up the conversation with me exactly where he left it when we last saw each other. Amazing. Amazing. When Prabhupada visited us, he asked us if we had any Kerala in the temple, bitter melon. I said, no. I didn't even know what it was. He said, I have brought some with me. I thought, really? How do you bring a vegetable all the way from India? But I didn't say anything. But I will show you how to prepare bitter melon. So he pulled out this small bag, little transparent bag, plastic bag, and in it, it had dried bitter melon, Kerala, right? And we went down into the kitchen, and Prabhupada taught us how to dehydrate, or rehydrate rather, and cook Kerala. And we got the maha from that. There was one devotee, I remember, he never wanted to do kitchen seva. And he hated washing dishes. He volunteered to wash dishes exactly at that precise moment. He's a very clever devotee. So there was maybe 7 dishes. He just kept washing the same dishes slowly over and over and over, because that was his ticket to be right next to the action with Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. Do I have more time? How much more time?
Yes, please. There are a few questions also. If you would like, you can answer.
No, I have one last story.
Yes, please. You can share.
So there was this yogi, very well known. He was Swiss. He was Swiss, but he was a friend of Timothy Leary. Has anyone ever heard of Timothy Leary? He was the guy who was he was a professor at Harvard University, and he discovered LSD. And once he discovered LSD, all he wanted to do was take LSD. So he was like a leader of the counterculture of the so-called transcendental consciousness, whatever. So this yogi was friends with him. And so I thought, well, this could be really interesting. I'll invite this yogi to come meet Prabhupada. So he came from the capital city of Switzerland, which was Bern. It's like about 2.5, 3 hours away. And he comes into Prabhupada's room. And, we had a little cushion on the floor for him, like the cushion of honor. Everyone else was seated on the carpet. He sat down. And so Prabhupada looks at him. He's taking the measure of him. He says, so, do you have any questions for me? The man says, no, I have no questions. So I'm thinking, what have I done? I've invited a fool. I've said this is some kind of intelligent man who will talk with Prabhupada. Now Prabhupada says, do you have a question? He says, no questions. So my face turned like beet red. I thought, now I've made a fool of myself. I've wasted Prabhupada's time. And exactly at that point, the man says, I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to have the darshan of such an exalted spiritual master as yourself. I said, okay, he just saved me. He saved me. But he still had no questions. But now the whole mood changed. Prabhupada turned to a devotee. He said, please give me the harmonium. They gave Prabhupada the harmonium, and Prabhupada started pumping the harmonium and playing the keyboard. And he started chanting a melody and mantras that at the time, I wasn't sure what they were. Later on, I realized, like a year or two later, whatever, that he was chanting Hari Hari Bipale. And then Prabhupada became so absorbed in this that he just closed his eyes. And he must have chanted for 20 minutes. Everyone was just like totally mesmerized, watching Prabhupada and listening and realizing that Prabhupada was no longer really in that room. He was with eyes closed, absorbed in chanting for Krishna. It was so rare. Then after about 20 minutes, Prabhupada opened his eyes, kind of like, oh, we're here in this room on earth, you know? And then he said, thank you very much. That was it. Then he turned to me, he said, make sure he gets prasadam. And it was over. That was the story of the yogi. I got one more. You want one more? So this was a great Orientalist, a big scholar, French, from France, but he lived in Geneva. Must have been a wealthy guy too. So we invited him to come see Prabhupada, and he agreed, and we had an appointment. 10 a.m. in the morning on whatever day. Around 10 minutes to 10, I'm starting to worry. The man has not showed up yet. 10 o'clock, the man has not showed up. This is Switzerland. You know, in Switzerland, the trains run on time. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Who makes the best watches in the world, right? The Swiss. So in Switzerland, it's not like India. Coming late is not an option in Switzerland. You know, in India, I remember once I was standing on a platform waiting for a train that was like 2.5 hours late. And I turned to a man next to me and I said, where's the train? Yeah, just now coming. You know, that's not Switzerland. That's not Switzerland. So I knew there was a problem. So I got another devotee. I said, we're going to go to that guy's house. We're going to find out what the problem is. So we jumped in the car. It was Prabhupada. We rented a Mercedes for Prabhupada. It was a simple Mercedes. When I look at it today, it seems so small and unpretentious. But back then it was a Mercedes, so it was special. We drove to the guy's house, and he had like a house on top of a hill with a long driveway going up. And he was outside on his veranda. So he saw this strange car coming. And he was going like, and of course, then he could see that the driver had the people had tilak on, you know, so a shaved head. So he already knew it was the devotees coming to get him. So we got out of the car, and I thought he was going to say, oh, you shouldn't have come. I can't make it, but you know, he's right there. You can't say he has another appointment. He's just right there. He just looked at us and he said, please wait while I get my hat. Then he got his hat and climbed into the car. Then we drove him to the temple. Of course, he came a little late. Came up, brought him up to Prabhupada's room. Now, this is a man who had written a book called The Yoga of Love, The Jest of Krishna. He'd been studying Krishna as he told Prabhupada for 20 years in preparation for writing this book. So when he came in, he told Prabhupada exactly that. Swamiji, it has taken me 20 years to write this book on Krishna. I have showed it to the great sadhus in Vrindavan, and they have all agreed that this is a wonderful book. Now, I was talking about preparation before in the first part of my talk. Prabhupada prepared for that meeting. I came to Prabhupada the night before and I said, Prabhupada, this is a book that this man wrote. He'll be coming tomorrow. Would you like me to read portions of it so you can understand what he's thinking? I said, why not? Prabhupada said. So there's a picture of this too, where I'm reading to Prabhupada. It's just him and me in the room. Most devotees think, oh, Guru Gauranga Das must be reading, Bhagavatam to Prabhupada. No, I'm reading this puffed up Jnani's book. You can see the expression on Prabhupada's face is not blissful, not blissful. So when the guy said, it's taken me 20 years to write this book, and he was so puffed up, Prabhupada just looked at him and said, and still there are mistakes. That's how the meeting started. Then Prabhupada talked about his young disciples, boys and girls who had given up eating meat and fish and sex outside of marriage and only for procreation, and no gambling and no intoxication. And this man said to Prabhupada, he said, I could give up all those things too, if I wanted to, but I don't want to. That was very interesting. One man had no questions and asked nothing and said nothing, and he got the mercy. And the other man's head was filled with knowledge of Krishna, so-called knowledge of Krishna, but it didn't work out very well. And the meeting didn't last much longer. And then after he left the room, one of the devotees said, Prabhupada, he was a demon. No, he was not a demon. I have seen his book. It has the name Krishna in it many times. Okay, I'm done. You know Prabhupada did that, right? He would look at a newspaper article, devotee said, Prabhupada, this is not a very good, the article has the name Krishna 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 times. Are we done now?
We can take a couple of questions, 1 or 2 questions from Prabhu.
All right.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. There are a few questions. One is, Prabhuji, I am new in Krishna consciousness. Always I feel I am not qualified to preach about the mission of Prabhupada. That I may not speak something which is wrong or give a wrong impression of our organization ISKCON. How do I overcome this?
Well, your prudence to not make a mistake is a good thing. That's a kind of humility. That's a kind of not thinking, oh, I know it all. But you don't have the option to remain silent forever. You need to learn our philosophy. You don't, in explaining ISKCON, I've been a devotee for 50 years. I'm not sure I understand ISKCON yet either. It can be quite complex. But this philosophy, although it is the most confidential knowledge, it is not that difficult, really. The first thing is, you must understand, as we all must, we are not this body, not this body. Therefore, we cannot behave on the level of bodily consciousness, even though we have a body. Prabhupada spoke over and over and over on this. Prabhupada didn't start talking about Radha Krishna, Vrindavan is like this, ISKCON is like, no, he says, we are not this body in so many different ways. We are the spirit soul in the Aham Brahmasmi. So focus on that. If all you know what to say is, I am not this body and neither are you, we are eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. Our nature is Satchidananda. If you have to memorize it, you can start that way. Then gradually you'll get inspired. You'll be guided by the Lord in the heart. You won't deviate. And you can explain that the natural activity of the soul is to serve and to serve God. Listen to classes, hear Prabhupada's lectures. I must say this, I love listening to Bhakti Charu Swami lecture, but what I've noticed is that there are many next generation devotees, they think, well, the Prabhupada disciples listen to Prabhupada tapes, I'm going to listen to the tapes of my guru. And they think they listen to the tapes of their guru, I'm listening to the tapes of my guru. Perfect. Not perfect. You're twice as lucky as the Prabhupada disciples. You get to listen to the lectures of two gurus, your guru and ISKCON founder Acharya, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Learn to listen to lectures of Prabhupada as well. You have twice as much work as the old timers. But the only way this movement will succeed is if Prabhupada is always in the center. All the stars around the moon. Prabhupada is the moon. And then practice. Maybe sometimes you can say something in the presence of a senior devotee. Maybe you have, the Maharaj next to you or Premavatar, someone, and they're listening to you talk. And then you can say, well, how was that? How did I say anything? Any missteps that I missed? It was very good, Prabhu. I say, well, this one area, whatever. And as you go forward, you will gain confidence and Krishna will give you the intelligence to speak nicely. Masuchaha, do not fear. Krishna will give you the words too. But you must study the books and hear the lectures of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. Is that okay for an answer?
Yes, thank you very much, Prabhuji.
No, don't worry about explaining ISKCON yet. I still try to explain ISKCON and I'm not sure I understand what I'm saying or that anyone else does either.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. There is one more question. Hare Krishna. My question is that I am not able to confirm from whom should I take Diksha. I am confused between two gurus. Srila Prabhupada disciples, kindly guide.
Pray to Krishna. Pray to Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. That's one thing about being uninitiated. You pray directly to Prabhupada, right? Actually, I think a lot of initiated devotees don't realize they can pray directly to Prabhupada. You have access to Prabhupada. You have access to Prabhupada through your Guru Maharaj, but you can also access Prabhupada directly in prayer. And you can pray, especially you're not initiated, pray to Prabhupada. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please give me the enlightenment to choose a spiritual master that will guide me through this life in this material world back to your lotus feet. Back to you, Krishna. And it will become clear in time. At least it's very difficult to make a mistake, Well, there's this wonderful guru here and there's this wonderful guru here. But it's your decision. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam ganinas tattvadarshana. The self-realized soul, just approach a self-realized soul. He can give you the absolute truth because he has seen it. And if you pray that way, the Lord in the heart will guide you. You're really not doing the choosing on one level. You are, but you aren't. Krishna is guiding you to the right person. Ask any disciple of Srila Bhakti True Swami Maharaj, did they pick him? And they would say, well, I think he picked us, or Krishna sent us to help him, or something. So it's kind of a mix of all of the above. But when the time comes, you'll know what to do. How long have you been a bhakta? How long has the questioner been a devotee?
3 years, she is writing.
Oh, he's on the slow fuse. I understand. I knew this one devotee, he waited 40 years to get initiated. Can you believe it? He knew Prabhupada when Prabhupada was here. He never got initiated. He waited 40 years. Then he got initiated by Kadamba Kanana Maharaj. 3 years, it'll come. Are you chanting your rounds? Are you chanting your japa every day? Questioner? Is the questioner chanting his japa, her japa?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji, you are here, you can tell. Radha Mata, yes, chanting 16 rounds.
Are you reading Prabhupada's books every day? Mataji?
You can unmute yourself, not every day, but occasionally. She wrote my project. Not every day, but occasionally she reads.
Read something every day. Something. Are you following the regulative principles, Mataji?
Yes.
Well, it will come when it's ready to come. Don't worry. You're doing everything right. It will come. Next time I have a chance to speak to the devotees in Ujjain or visit Ujjain, please remind me of your question and let me know the update, how things are going, okay? What is your name, Mataji?
She is Radha.
Sri Radha Dasi?
Only Radha.
Radha Dasi? Okay. We have an appointment for next time, okay? I'll be expecting an update from you.
Okay. So, Prabhu, there is one last question by Rasasthali Mataji. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Who is this question from?
Rasasthali Devidasi.
Uh-huh.
She is Rasasthali Devidasi. It's in chat box if you can see.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to find it. Rasastali Devi Dasi? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories unto Srila Prabhupada and unto Guru Maharaj. My question is there one very inner desire or project of our Guru Maharaj that he was really passionate about, that we as his disciples should make our every endeavor to fulfill our Guru Maharaj? Thanking you in advance. Well, that's an easy question. He wanted you to connect through him to Srila Prabhupada and take this movement seriously. Don't make a hash out of it. Help ISKCON become better. Help ISKCON become stronger. Serve the devotees and go home back to Godhead. It's not about this serving here or serving there or be in the kitchen or book distribution. is also special, but the main thing is to connect to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. That's what Guru Maharaj, I mean, you know, when I talk about your Guru Maharaj, it's not abstract. I'm not just saying, well, any Guru Maharaj would say this. No, your Guru Maharaj. I've heard him say these things. I've heard this with my own ears. He is a friend of mine. So I don't have to make it up. Well, he would say this, he probably would say that. No, that's what he would say. He once told me, he said, you know, many of the devotees here in a particular place, they're not that fixed up and they're not that dedicated to ISKCON. And I'd actually seen that. I could see that. He said, sometimes people wonder if this is an ISKCON temple. Of course, he's not talking about Ujjain. That's obvious. And he said to me, he said, but I always say, I am an ISKCON man. I am a servant of Srila Prabhupada. And if they want to follow me, please me, serve me, that's my message. I am connecting them to ISKCON and Prabhupada. That is my purpose. So thank you all for your time and your attention. A 5-day festival for Gaura Purnima. How brilliant is that? When Gaura Purnima comes, you're already got at least 1 foot in the spiritual world. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very grateful. Premavatar Prabhu, dear Gaura Prabhu. Where's Maharaj? Is he not in Ujjain today?
Yes, Prabhuji Maharaj is not Ujjain. He went to Amethi in UP.
Is he healthy? Is he well?
Yeah, he is in some preaching program there.
Will you offer him my obeisances when he returns?
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
All
Krishna.
glories to Prabhupada. May you have a joyous Gaura Purnima festival. Lord Chaitanya's mercy may it be for everyone, always. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Bye,
much
Prabhupada. Hari Bol.
for your wonderful time and association, sharing wonderful memories with Guru Maharaj and deep realization and reflection on Bhagavad Gita's verse. And we look forward for your physical association here at Ujjain as soon as the situation is better. Thank you very much. Hare
Stay
Krishna.
safe, all of you. I have a new little slogan. I end my emails and my WhatsApp messages with this. Would you like to hear it? The last thing I'll say. Regarding ISKCON, be positive. Regarding COVID, be negative. Okay? Hari Hari, Gaur Premanandi.
His Grace Guru Gauranga Prabhu ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hare Krishna devotees. So in the evening we will be resuming our session and we will be hearing from His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj from 6 to 7 p.m. So we are looking for your association for all these festival. Thank you very much. Charu. Jai. Gaur Purnima Maha.